Hello, beautiful people. Oh my God, I've been having the worst time with my camera and getting on here. I don't know if it has been purposeful or not. Purposeful by someone else, an entity, the dark side. But I'm finally on here and I forced myself because this had to be a forcing because I really have to talk about this, and I'm trying to focus on something regarding work and incorporating flower essences, so that's really exciting. But I'm glad to be on here, okay? And I do always have to say this because I know that a lot of people are only tuning into me for the first time amongst my other two listeners. Ha! I found there was a reggae song actually a few weeks ago that I forget who sings it, but it's called No Likes, and the whole song is talking about basically giving two shits about getting likes, which I'm totally I'm laughing about that because most of my stuff is like that over the past so many years, right? For whatever reasons. Okay, 20 years holistic wellness as an esthetician and wellness practitioner, my vault of information, accompanied with my self defense background and mindset training and mental readiness coaching. Okay, tried to different ways to integrate it here and through my podcast, Rock Your Life with Nora Finch, right? Okay, so today, like I said, I really was working hard to get on here. Okay, because I'm very easily distracted. Procrastinating is one of the worst habits, I think. Just have to say that. And also with me jumping on here, I just wanted to let you know I am always very honestly, truly wanting to help people in case you really did not do not get that, do not understand it. I thought maybe at some point long time ago, it'd be nice to ask for some donations, but then that just opens a whole nother can of worms of setting up different things and whatever, right? But that would be nice. And also maybe to people to show support that maybe they give two shits or are interested in what I'm offering and that it's helpful, even though I just said the 0 likes. Would seem like, I give two shits, but donations would be nice, right? Because this does take my energy. Okay, today, I'm actually going to start with something funny. I wasn't going to do this, but I thought it was appropriate. I was like, hey, I'll connect it to this episode. So I want to start by saying, because I'm going to title this basically the thong topic and Bonnie Blue. So the mega famous star, adult star, we will call her, and who I decided I would like to give maybe 2 minutes of my energy to. This is actually a very serious topic I could go into. And I'm sure a lot of people, kind of tackle this subject matter. Uh, and she was interviewed by somebody who basically, I've never really listened to him before. I think his name is Liam Tuffs, Tuffs. TU, F as in Frank, F as in Frank, S as in Sam. And I think the show is called The Dozen, DZN. I think he's from the UK. I think UK. And so I want to talk about that today. And I decided, though, while I watched the whole interview, because he asked questions to her, that things that I've always wanted to know or always wanted to ask basically anybody that's in the sex industry, right? It's porn star or sex worker or anybody along those pages that would be willing to talk and be direct. And it is a deep subject, if we want to say dark subject for some people or whatever it is. Before we get into that, yes, I wanted to give a few minutes, but I also want to give advice in that area or tips because it goes into addiction talk. Okay, subject? So this is what's funny that I thought would be a good intro to talking about that. So you guys, a lot of people on my channel don't really ever get to see my comedic side. And I really do have, I think, some really hilarious stand-up material, material that could be really great for stand-up. And my comedy has increased over the years in a better, more evolved way. Some stuff that just comes out, right? But one of the topics, so I'm going to bring up the thong. Okay, so, and also the subject matter of the talking about the Bonnie Blue, because people I don't even think would maybe even know that I would be interested in that area or whatever, but I can talk about so many different things. And it's the second time that it's come around up in the last few weeks, because I also wanted to talk about my X-rated reading as a teenager that I was also intrigued about. And one of my favorite collections, it was fiction. It was written by Anne Rice. She had a former pen name, Roquelaire. That's how you pronounce it. You can look it up. She had a Sleeping Beauty connection. Sleeping Beauty collection. And I was into, yes, self-help and Buddhist books and things like that, but I was also into underground, unusual, intriguing. The fiction books were like about vampires and things like that. But anyway, and I've always had a really, my sense of humor, a lot of it too comes from my stepdad in the Air Force and talking like a barbarian sometimes and all these like made up words. Okay, so that goes into that. Okay, so the thong. So since I growing up punk rock, definitely not into working out, being healthy, all that sort of stuff in Pennsylvania. Definitely was kind of like an anti-pretty sort of a thing. And you can hear my story right in my other playlists on my personal empowerment journey. And so never would I have thought that I would ever wear a thong or if for any length, like for any reason at all, just like dumb. And I didn't actually appreciate like even a guy like when I started training in self defense and kind of paying attention, like, oh, physically fit body, whatever, that's kind of attractive, but I never was like into it. There were certain body types, of course, that I thought like are appealing, either like the Neanderthal, like tall and buff, or like stocky and buff. Okay, so like my husband. Okay, so getting into this. Okay, so thongs. I've always, and being sexy, right? I was like anti being sexy until I started learning to samba dance and like move my hips. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do that. So that's the backup on why this is funny, because I think it's not very typical of a female to like say that basically, even if I loved, it's not typical to say like you'd never wear a thong or whatever it is, or dress like a certain way. But even if I loved my body and thought it loved my body in the sense like I just thought it was off the chart, with this kick ass like boobs and ass, I still would not wear that in public on the beach, right? Or anywhere out. And we were on the boat the other day and it just reminded me of secondhand embarrassment. And okay, so back it up. When I started kind of dressing a little bit girly and feminine for me, because I never used to dress like that, and super baggy pants and all that sort of stuff. And it took me a while even to wear like Daisy Duke shorts, anything like that. I did temporarily, because I didn't want the panty line, wear a thong. And even when I started wearing one, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it feels like my ass is on fire. So I realized that my thong was too tight or too small. And after I got and for sure the one, like we call them too, like, butt floss. When I got the ones that were a thicker material, they became more comfortable. And I didn't want the panty line in like certain things that I would wear. Right. And then so temporarily, but now I never wear them at all. I have one for like a keepsake that I have, or like my favorite, like color, 3 colors in it. And so back to the boy shorts. Okay, so I figured out my way, because they make all different kinds. You can wear them like super thin and not have a panty line. I'm like, okay, good, because that's just dumb. But if I found some cute ones, I would wear the cheeky bottoms thing. Okay, so dumb that I just had to explain that to you all right now. But basically, my comediness of it is the secondhand embarrassment, like of just walking around chilling on a beach or the pool or whatever and having the floss or the thong like in your ass the whole time and just walking around not caring. I don't know if that's a European thing or whatever, but total cringe and secondhand embarrassment. And it makes me feel like I'm the only one who like makes fun of that shit, because any woman that I've kind of said that to, specifically in the few, they're all like, if I had the body, I would wear like that. Or I would wear that. Or if I had the body, I'd dress like XYZ. And it's like, no, not only that's like too much attention, like maybe that's part of it too, but like the total ass hanging out, no. Then that reminded me that I've recorded an episode on how male strippers, especially uniformed men, because our culture, does that with the centerfolds, that's total cringe and secondhand embarrassment. So everybody, or those women out there in pop culture that love and scream at like on the old talk shows that used to do that, so embarrassing. Now that I just spent so much energy on talking about that, I still think it is funny, and I wanted to share with you because sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that I'm like, every time I see the damn thong, that's what I think about. Thongs on the beach, and just in general. Okay, getting to it with also not making this section last too long, but it's probably going to have to be about another 10 minutes, which I always have to warn you. Okay, so this guy that interviewed Liam, I hope I got his name right, Bonnie Blue, I had heard about her and I thought, here we go again, another decade. This industry, whether it's, a new porn star or somebody that's popular or trying to set some Guinness World Record that sounds like she's trying to do 1,000 people in a day. And the podcast host just kept saying getting railed. I was cracking up because I usually say banged, and he just kept saying getting railed. I don't know what it's called, but you'll know when you see it. And she's blonde if you haven't seen her before. But one of the things too that intrigued me about her, I thought, was like her confidence, and I've been over analyzing and thinking all about it and what's darkness and like just different things, like just to kind of, is that around her, like what's her angle, right? Aside from making money, which she thought it was initially. And basically during the interview, they're talking, which is why I was like, I got to get on here and talk to somebody about this. That they're talking about how she's kind, or he mentions, right? The podcast host respects her for being kind, and she seemed like a nice person. He didn't want to have bad things, to happen to her. And he was kind of like a little bit trying to persuade her to steer away from this lifestyle, right? She's 26. And you can go listen to it if you want, but it's basically sounds like instant gratification, and basically her saying, wanting to be happy, wants to maintain happiness. And I could go into a rabbit hole of talking about, if I wanted to analyze all of that. Now she says that, but I'm not going to, but now she says, oh, she's doing these different events now and they can check for testicular cancer and all these, I guess, kind of positive things that are coming out of it. So as I was listening to her and they were talking about how kind she was, and she's like, oh, I'll just do it with everybody, no matter their size, and, this and that, and that everybody comes from different situations, the guys, with their wives and different things like that. And so she's going on, and the interview ends with a jerk comment. I really think it's a jerk face comment, She said, to end it, he's like, you have any final words to say to the audience? And she's like, hi, boys. I'm glad you're wanking off to me. I'm sorry your wives are pathetic. And I was like, what the fuck she just say? And even the podcast host was like, for fuck's sake. So that's what prompted me to really come on here. And I was like, I gotta say something, is that this is not about me bringing this up, like making judgments on anybody's choices. I'm not here for that. And I'm not here on this episode to go down that route. I am here to basically talk about, again, this is another perpetuating in culture of sex, distractions, addictions, not just saying, oh, sex sells and all that. We all know that. I feel like A lot of people know that, right? Sex, drugs. I'm going to include sugar in there. Addictive behaviors and habits and addictions of all sorts. When I say addictions, not like sex addiction, it's phone addiction, it's all sorts of addictions that a lot of us, can have. And even my tea could be an addiction, right? I can go, yes, without a day or my coffee or whatever without having it, but it's my enjoyable part of life. And until it starts affecting me on the negative level, then I'm going to have to back off, right? And when I did see that the caffeine was affecting me, I had to back off. So I want to end in saying this episode because in saying in this episode to all of you is that if this is you, and again, it doesn't have to be sex addiction, but we're going to talk about it right now. Sex or porn addiction, everybody's idea is different of what is too much. And I myself know what it comes from, to come from that place of obviously I am human, and I am of, I guess to say, a sexual nature, whatever. Sometimes I think it really is inherited. And so I do know what it's like to be in that place, um, or, being stimulated, right? And visually, it's like I'm a dude. But we're going to talk about either porn or watching porn or just, I don't know, just we'll just say that, okay? There are many things out there and you can be anonymous and you don't have to anything. Nobody even has to know, people. There are so many different programs and guys actually coming forward to deal with this sort of thing. But as long as media and everything continues to perpetuate it, it's going to continue. I do know and will tell you that I think it was on a Netflix thing when I even heard that basically when you click on certain sites, and maybe you knew this as well. I don't know if it was Pornhub or whatever it was, when they were saying that like every time you click, like your thing is actually going to support sex trafficking. I wanted to throw up and was disgusted. Um, and just like all of that and the tracking of on our computers anyway of stuff, like, is that to bring attention to it. So there's many different things. So what I normally would have said was hypnosis, which you don't have to go to a therapist, while there are very many qualified people that may actually be able to get you better results, quicker results. I think even neuro-linguistic programming, there's stuff online. But without getting too deep, because it's more so, if it's a problem for you, or your lifestyle or your family or your significant, or you don't want them, you don't want it to go downhill. You don't want it to spiral, or maybe it's just, you just think you look about it at it too much and it's too addicting, and maybe you saw it too young. And I know I found tapes when I was like 12. It's funny. And then VHS tapes and then rewinding it back to like leave it where you found it, to act like nobody knew. My stepdad's and my mom's. Anyway, it makes me laugh. So hypnosis, but the damn flower essences, if you've ever heard me talk about them, it's like evolutionary if people just looked into them. Okay. So vibrational medicine, it's basically like going to therapy without going, because you can use them. But going in this way could mean showing up. You can spray them in the air around you. You can put them under your tongue. You can apply them topically. And this is under the umbrella of, I said, energy psychology. Okay, so the plainest and most simplest way to put it is what I like to say is we are matter, and matter is made up of energy, right? So this is just another way to help on a very subtle level, while they can be very impactful initially, depending on who you seek. They can help you, okay? You can anonymously deal with any sort of addictions. Smoking, other fears, fear of flying, fear of heights. I don't know. You know what? If you want to get over that particular, it helps you trauma. Dealing with trauma additionally, and then initially, sorry, trauma initially, and then receiving love, and so many things that has helped me with in my life. Patience, stress, PTSD. They've been around, I guess, more so coming into the mainstream since I've been doing aesthetics over 20 years, but I think they are going to become more and more well known. Okay, so I'm going to name drop. There's a couple of different companies, but the one right now I'm revisiting again because he is a chiropractor, and I am science meets nature. Okay, so for people that want to judge, like, is that shit fake? Does it work? All these sorts of things that people like to say, right? Just like Reiki as energy work, and all these things that, in some ways, maybe necessarily somebody can't prove. Well, this chiropractor has, and he muscle tests to actually see that it's working. So you can actually go with the practitioner too. Okay. So I am revisiting. So his products are Floor Alive, FLORALIVE. And he has ones that you can just start with an overall, like, anybody can use, doesn't matter, the situation. It's called Healing Support. I think it's a combination. And he has a bunch of other ones, but you can also get a consultation, people. Okay. So Flora Live, he has been around for a long time, 30 years, I think, doing this, maybe even 40. Maybe not that long. And his book, The Floral Hand of God, he has a YouTube channel. So he's my guy in terms of, I am revisiting that whole line because they are pretty potent. I'm almost actually thinking that is one drop in a bottle, sipping all day long, because the frequency is so strong. I think I felt some weird imbalances. So I'm going to revisit him. Okay, so he's one of the pioneers. There are some other brands. I just can't. There's another one that I'm working with because I may be working with some mental health issues. And I'll get back to you on that. There's also another beautiful line. Specifically, they create a program for PTSD. She has really beautiful stuff, really beautiful aromatherapy. Again, I've known her for like 20 some years, her products, and that's Lotus Way, Lotus like the flower, LOTUSWEI, and many other companies out there. And also their products don't use alcohol. They use like shisho, I think it's called, vinegar, and different things like that. If you don't want anything out there like that in there, especially if you are using alcohol excessively or going through any programs. And so I'm going to end with that. Okay, people. So I just want to tell you, there's so many things out there that, if this is a problem or challenge or is something that, you want to fix and you want to work on, there's so many things out there. Back in the day, it just seemed like it was always just promoted talk therapy, and that doesn't work for everybody. Some people can't talk. It's actually painful for them. And so that's the holistic that, comes into play as body, mind, spirit, acupressure, therapies, different things to release these things out of our cells and our organs. Okay. It's a whole big thing. The holistic model. It's not like you just do one thing, but the baby step, first and foremost, is awareness of your addiction, of whatever it is. You might not even call it an addiction, but the fact that if you are returning to these certain habits, maybe you need to write out, first of all, like, what is an addiction, or what, or starting out with a piece of paper. Like I always say, write these things out. What's the definition of addiction? Do you consider this an addiction? Ask somebody else about the certain behavior. Do they think, in their opinion, that you may have an addiction or whatever it is, people. Like I said, caffeine is different, all of these sorts of things, but I wanted to bring this up because it's a perfect example with Bonnie Blue and her jerk comment, which after I heard that, I was like, okay, that's not kind. That's being a jerk. You don't know anybody's situation and their wives, their relationships, or anything there. So I just thought that was jerk. Okay. And to come on here and voice this because I guess I do have some people I can vent to, but not everybody at my work has time to listen to me run my mouth for an hour about this sort of stuff. Hope this helps you. Okay? If you are a first responder listening, Lotus Way, they have a specific program for you over there and a discounted rate and or a veteran. Okay? So I'm so glad that finally this is getting out there, getting exposure for it. And if you don't mind essential oils, that is another way to enjoy the product. So essential oils have a smell, right? Flower essences do not. So depending on how you are about that, you have the choice of either. Okay? I think Lotus Way, though, only offers with the scent. I don't know of any of her products that don't have a scent in there, but I haven't tried everything. And there might even be some ones specifically masculine, musky kind of smells, which I do love too. Okay. Okay, beautiful people. I hope this show turns out nice and clear since I'm inside and not walking around on my walks that disturb all the sounds that I'm hearing. So I will talk to you soon, and please go explore. There's always a solution for whatever you're dealing with, and never give up, and just be intentional, come from love. Everything's all good, right? But it's not a quick fix. Flower essences take a while, okay, people? But it's okay. Okay, I'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks for listening. Bye.